Therapy is sold as the parent's answer to everything. But what if it's actually making your kids worse? Stay with me here because what I'm going to talk about today is probably the most important message you need to hear this year. There is a growing body of research and a best-selling book that is blowing the lid off the child therapy industry, and the findings are shocking. In this video, we're going to go through why you should think twice before you're sending your kids to therapy, and I promise you, after this video, you will never look at this topic the same way again. Now let's dive in. Something nobody is telling you is that when you are sending your child to therapy, you are communicating to them, whether you like it or not, that the issue that they have is more than you can handle. Kids are especially perceptive. They feel that. And instead of building the confidence that tells them that you are their safe place and you are the one to go to, you are quietly outsourcing your role to a complete stranger. Parenting has always required us to sit in discomfort with our kids, to figure it out together. That struggle, that process is actually where real connection is forged. When we remove ourselves from this equation too quickly, we rob ourselves and our children from the opportunity to grow together through dealing with hard things. And it's not just the message you're sending to yourself, it's also the message your child starts to believe about themselves. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you, were you sent to therapy as a kid? Did it help? Did it hurt? Let me know in the comments below. I truly like to know. Children internalize labels. When a child is regularly pulled out of their normal life to go to talk to a professional about their problems, they start to build an identity around that. I'm the kid who needs help. I am different. Something is wrong with me. We are in an era where mental health labels are being thrown around far too easily. And there's a massive difference between awareness and identity. You don't want your child's identity to be determined by their weaknesses, but actually through their strengths. Be very careful about the narrative you're instilling in your child's mind because your child is listening. So when you hand your child over to a professional, you communicate a powerful silent message. This problem is bigger than me. Someone else needs to handle you. Instead of building an identity around strength and family resilience, children internalize a clinical label. They become the kid who needs help. Now, here is what's more concerning. It's not only the label that we're putting on our children, it's also the messages that they're getting inside that room that we have absolutely no control over. You see, when your child steps into that therapist's room, you have no idea what is the values, what is the worldview, what is the ideological framework that the therapist has. Therapists are human beings as well. They have biases, and that will shape consciously or unconsciously what they say to your child. So you have no control what messages your child receives. And that creates a legal and ideological barrier between you and your child. Are those beliefs aligned with your family values, with your faith, with your cultural background, with your views about discipline, identity, and relationships? You don't know, and in many cases, you won't know. Once a child reaches a certain age, therapist-client confidentiality creates an impenetrable wall. Parents are legally blind to the worldview, biases, and narratives shaping their children behind closed doors. You work hard to build a value system in your home. Do not leave a gap open for it to be quietly undermined in a room you cannot enter. Has your child ever come back from a therapy session and said something that felt a little bit off? You don't have to share the details, but just share with us in the comments below if it happened or not. Because I think more parents are experiencing this than we actually talk about. Now let's talk about something that goes even deeper than that. Let's talk about attachment. Sending your child to therapy may be undermining your leadership and your attachment. Children need a hierarchy. They need to know who their safe person is, who they turn to, who leads them. When a therapist steps into that role, especially over months or years, it can quietly erode your position as that person. Attachment theory itself tells us that children thrive when they have a secure primary attachment to their caregiver. That's you. If your child learns to process every hard emotion, every conflict, every overwhelming feeling with a therapist, what happens to that muscle that connects them to you? You want your child to run to you when things get hard, not because you have all the answers, because you are their person. It goes even deeper than that because the whole modern therapeutic system teaches children something about their feelings that may actually be setting them to fail in real life. You see, teaching kids to center their feelings can actually be harmful. Now, this may be the most counter-cultural thing I'm going to say to you today. Modern child therapy is heavily focused on feelings, identifying feelings, validating feelings, processing feelings. And while emotional awareness has its place, we have overcorrected dramatically. When a child is constantly taught that their feelings are the most important thing in the room, that very emotion must be explored, validated, and centered, we are setting them up for fragility, not resilience. Every trigger or discomfort is overanalyzed and excavated, gets total validation by a professional, and creates avoidance of real-world discomfort. Other people are not going to always validate our children's feelings. And if that's what they are expecting, they will suffer tremendously when reality hits. We build resilient kids not by dwelling on emotions, but by teaching them to act rightly, even if they feel wrongly, to push through, to consider others, to delay gratification. That lesson is nearly impossible to learn on a therapist's couch. Now, what happens if a therapist conversation leads to something even more serious? You see, medication is often the next step. Therapy and medication often travel together in the clinical world. Once a child is in the mental health system, the pathway to a prescription is shorter than most parents ever anticipate. The long-term effects of many psychiatric medications is not fully known, and side effects are real. Dependency is real. Once a child is on that road, going back is not that easy. I'm not saying that medication is never appropriate. In some cases, it helps. But I'm just saying, go with your eyes open, ask the hard questions, and don't let urgency replace informed decision-making when it comes to your child's developing brain. Because routine emotional support creates a clinical label, and then very easily it can get to a psychiatric medication. And even if we take medication completely off the table, there is another type of dependency not a lot of people talk about, and it may shape your child's entire sense of self. Because treatment dependency is a real risk. How long has your child been in therapy? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? At what point therapy stops being a bridge and starts being a crutch? When children start to depend on therapy, they truly start to believe that they don't have what it takes to deal with the challenges that life is presenting to them. And they start to believe that the only way that they can go through the challenges is by seeing a therapist. That is not healing. That is dependency with a wellness label on it. True growth means we are becoming more capable over time, more self-sufficient, more resilient. If therapy isn't constantly moving your child to that direction, it is worth asking if it's actually helping. And here's the thing. What if all the money, all the time, all the mental load you are spending on your child's therapy can be directed towards something else? Let's talk about that. Think about what therapy actually costs you. Not just the money. Think about the time, weekly sessions, drop-offs, pickups, conversations about how it went, the mental load of managing it all. Now, what if you take that exact time and invest it in time spent with your child? Research consistently shows that the single greatest protective factor of a child's mental health is a strong connected relationship with a caring adult. That is you. You already have everything that your child needs, and you don't need credentials for it. You just need to show up. Most of what we're rushing our children to therapy for can be treated with more presence on our side. Now, don't just take my word for this, because the research is now being documented in a way that is turning the entire therapy world upside down. The last point I'm going to say is probably the most important thing I'm going to say today. There is a book that every parent has to read before they're deciding to send their kids to therapy. It's a book called Bad Therapy by Abigail Shrier. In that book, she talks about iatrogenesis. Iatrogenesis refers to harm that is caused by the treatment itself. Now, we've seen this in the medical world, a surgery that causes more damage than the initial condition, a medication that has side effects that are worse than the disease itself. Schreyer's argument, backed by research, interviews with therapists, psychologists, and devastated families, is that this is happening in child's therapy right now. The therapeutic process, as it is commonly practiced today, is actively making some children worse. Constantly excavating emotions, reinforcing victimhood narratives, training children to re-examine their pain over and over can actually increase anxiety, deepen dysfunction, and generate symptoms that weren't there before. Kids in therapy, in many documented cases, developed more mental health issues, not fewer. The treatment is actually producing the disease. If we discovered any other medical procedure that is actually making the patients worse, we would stop immediately and demand accountability. Why aren't we doing the same thing with therapy? Read the book, do the research, and make an informed decision, not a culturally pressed one. Now, look, I want to be responsible with everything that I shared today. I'm not saying that therapy is always wrong. I'm not saying that crisis situations don't exist. There are genuine cases where professional help is absolutely needed. But we have normalized this so much that this has become the first point of action that we're taking as parents. I am seeing this all over Facebook. Every day I'm seeing parents that are looking for therapists for their kids. So before you outsource your authority to others, look inward. Strengthen the relationship you have with your children. Show up more. Build your family culture intentionally. That is the most powerful mental health intervention you can do for your child. And it starts by deciding to be present. If you're ready to step into that role of a benevolent, strong leader of your home, check out the link below for my parenting program, Becoming Leaders, Raising Leaders. Reclaim the foundation. You don't need a clinical credential to heal your child. You are the first, best, and most powerful resource. Most of what we are rushing children to therapy to fix could be resolved with more of you. Before you outsource the struggle, look inward, decide to be present, reclaim your leadership, and become the safe space your child actually needs. And if you want to strengthen your mindset about how worthy and capable you are as a parent, check out another video that I made exactly about that. You can find it right here.